Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I always like to say thank you to Wyoming and actually your state survey agency, check that out, for approving this grant. Well, sorry, they've changed the lingo and kind of rightfully so. They're calling them reinvestment projects because it's money that, some nursing homes have put forth and is being reinvested. Isn't that cool? So this 3-year grant is called Implementing Culture Change Throughout Wyoming, affecting both resident-directed living as well as team member retention. If you're new to this, everyone, in general, if you create a normal life in a place that feels like a home rather than an institution, and you go by the pattern of the people who live there rather than some arbitrary institutional schedule, it also tends to translate into retaining staff and recruiting staff. Isn't that wonderful? So today it is my joy to bring you this topic, Culture Change 101. And I'm just going to run through the principles of culture change. These are principles this time, not practices so much, that truly change an institutional culture. And they do come to us from the Pioneer Network, which has now changed, by the way. The Pioneer Network has joined with the Greenhouse Project, mostly for survivability. They both did this because funders they were reaching out to actually said, why would we fund each of you separately? You basically do the same work. And then they were also able to join under a new name called the Center for Innovation. So y'all need to know that. And our movement, I often refer to the culture change movement. It started in 96, 97. So look how long we've been around, about 3 decades. So anything you hear today is old. It's actually not innovation. The leaders in our movement said it's not innovation when it's common sense. And look at that, it's not new. So if you aren't doing some of these things, you're behind the curve, guys. And I only say that to inspire you and your teammates. So I'm so impressed too that leaders of this movement realized we need principles and values to base this on. They were able to agree upon 13 what they call core values. And that's what I'm sharing with you today. And I love also sharing with you what I've learned from them. Notice I'm not saying, here's your program. By the way, the word program is very overused in an institution. If you think about it, right? You can be on what? Someone tell me, what are all the programs one person could be on? Look at the institutional language there. Tell me. You could be on. How about a toileting program? How do you like that one? Brittany, what else?
They can be in the feeder program.
Yep. Anybody
restorative.
Else? Yep. Restorative program. Good grief. We call everything a program, guys. It's like we think we should probably. The Walk to Dine program. What do we call activities? Programs. Activity programming. How about the QAPI program? The infection control program. So I just need you to know the word has become a mark of an institution. It gives it away that you represent an institution. And I just recommend you don't say it. It's perfect. You can say all those things without program on the end, right? So we help people walk to the dining room, right? Restorative is working with that person. They're on an exercise or a strength training that, to be honest, that kind of program is what we need more of, right? But hopefully you get the idea. You don't usually have to say it. And I've also learned this, that like when someone says QAPI program, sometimes we check out. And what I mean by that is, I'm not in charge of that. The administrator's in charge of that. That's bad, because you actually want everyone to feel a part of improving quality and performance, right? So then you could just refer to our quality assurance and our performance improvement. Same thing with infection control. We don't want anyone to think, that belongs only to the infection preventionist. No, because we all should care about preventing infection, right? So I really think there's power in not using the word program. Anyway, these smart people back in the late 90s realized that they were doing things differently, and that made them actually pioneers. Isn't that fun? They used kind of a special word to indicate doing it different, not necessarily innovation, but swimming upstream or cutting a new path. And one of the things they always say is our goal was to create rampant normalcy. Isn't that funny? Rampant normalcy. And actually, would you agree the the decision to use those two words is actually smart? I mean, that's how out of control, that's how far away many institutions are from normal. So rampant normalcy could be your new lingo if you wanted it to be. And then I've always loved this definition. We are transforming a culture of rigid rules, nope, to one of flexibility. For whom? For both staff and residents, because staff have to have the flexibility to honor choice for the people who live there, right? So it really has to be your system first, for staff first. So flexibility for both staff and residents, where resident choice is maximized and staff are empowered. Oh, staff are empowered to provide true resident-centered care. Do you realize we teach a lot of people, without meaning to, learned helplessness? I've learned this from other people. So if we make CNAs go wake people up for this arbitrary breakfast schedule, we teach the CNA learned helplessness. They know I don't want to get up, but they feel caught and they end up telling someone, but you have to. And therefore, learned helplessness. I'm helpless to change it. And guess what the resident learned? Learned helplessness. They realized, if I just let them get me up and let them take me to breakfast, get ready to answer somebody, and let them serve me food I don't really want to eat, and I just take a bite of toast and drink some coffee, then I can go back where? Someone tell me.
To bed.
Yes. Isn't that sad, you guys? And talk about wasted time. We want to waste time in a staffing crisis era. Do you realize changing culture to serve and be focused on the people who live there will save you time? You'll have reduced labor costs. We have seen it over and over. In particular, we've seen it at Westward Heights in the last year's project. So here we go. I got 13 core values or principles to share with you. The first one is know each person. Isn't that neat? It's the shortest one, 3 words only, know each person. What fails us a lot of the times is not knowing the person. I like to also put it like this, diving into the details of people's lives. And where I really learned that is when you sometimes find people on the floor. I bet many of you have found people on the floor and it was not a fall. And let's just say they had a habit of praying or sitting on the floor. A lot of Asian cultures do. When I was younger, I loved to sit on the floor. I love like new carpet. I don't know why. Some of us just like to sit on the floor. And sure enough, after many times of finding the person sitting on the floor, then we discover they like to sit on the floor, see? And I believe that proves the point that we do not do a great job of learning the individual, because ideally we would know they like to sit on the floor before they moved in, right? So think about that. How is your team doing to really learn the details of a person and to know each person? Here's another neat story. In the photo there, Charlie, this is a nursing home. It's a household model nursing home. Doesn't look like a typical nursing home. It's basically a household. They're just connected. A lot of typical nursing home structures remodel to households instead of typical hallways like we're used to. So in a household, you have a dead end, and the sleeping rooms are not the major thoroughfare, and they get private rooms. And you can see here, it feels much more like a living room. Anyway, I spent a week in this household nursing home in Perm, Minnesota, and I watched the staff members ask Charlie if he would like to vacuum. And watch this, everyone. I want to ask your opinion. Charlie did this. He goes, so what would you guess means?
Why are you asking me? Of course I want to vacuum.
Oh, well, Patty, most people guess, why are you asking me? No, the idea of kind of looks like no, but good job. You didn't go for the bait there. My grandma's actually from this area, and I could see her doing this. The actually means, don't you young people know how to vacuum? But he still did it. And they knew that it brought joy. It brought meaning and purpose to Charlie to vacuum. But isn't that a neat example of, if you didn't know the person, you may not know what that means. And then, can a person living in a nursing home vacuum? Of course they can. And we don't even talk about that or think about that. Could they vacuum in a normal nursing home? Yes, they could. So watch your people. Brittany, you could probably speak to this. When you were at Life Care of Casper, you have a person who lives there that showed you she wanted to set tables or clear tables, right? Like maybe she didn't tell you, but tell us, how did she indicate it?
She would kind of just insert herself, and the staff at the beginning spent more time trying to redirect her and get her to leave them alone instead of kind of scooping her in and letting her assist them. So it took us a little while to break down that wall.
Yeah.
That it was okay. She can set the tables, wash her hands, help her put some gloves on, let her do whatever it is that she wants to do because she's willing.
Yes. So, everyone, you probably all have a person like that. So my point here is to watch and certainly to ask. I have a friend, get this. I think maybe I was talking about this vacuuming example with a friend, and she goes, Carmen, when I'm old and I live in a nursing home, I am not going to vacuum. And what I realized, everyone, is maybe you will. You know why? If you're that bored, maybe you wouldn't mind vacuuming. I don't know that we can tell for certain what we'd be willing to do or not do, depending on where we live. Brittany, I want to also ask you a really cool thing. I'm starting to quote you. So can you tell everyone, in your journey of opening up life to the people who live there, doing things like household chores and doing things around their home, what became your quote? It's so good that they're not helping.
They're not helping, they're contributing. It's their home.
Yes. Isn't that powerful, everyone? It's kind of subtle. Like we might be tempted to say, oh, look at how we're letting them help. Letting is pejorative. It implies we're still in charge of them. And then they're not helping us. No, we are walking into their home. If anyone's helping, we're helping them, right? I wonder, everyone, if we switched our mindset to like home health, imagine you're not just going to work, you're going to work in someone else's home. I wonder if that would help change things. And if any of you kind of get into that, let me know. Because I'm curious what we could do with that. So another fun question I've learned to ask people is, what would people need to know about you to take great care of you? And I'd love to hear from you all in the chat box. If we had more time, I'd ask people to answer, but I'm going to share an example from my life that people started to point out. Are there any other saltaholics out there? I didn't even know I was a saltaholic until my friends started to say things like, Carmen, no, not everyone keeps salt in their purse. No, I don't have salt on my purse. And then they'd also say, are you salting your pizza? People don't salt pizza. And then I would also salt before tasting. Anybody else? I don't need to taste it. I know that it will need salt. Isn't that funny? So I bring it up for this reason. Now I'd like to ask y'all some questions, okay? If I am a saltaholic to that degree, what is very likely to happen in most institutional nursing homes? What are good meaning people probably going to tell me?
Take away the salt. It's unhealthy.
Exactly. Thank you, Lori. So now you know the answer, but look at this, everyone. If people don't allow me to have salt, what might I do? What are some things that I might do or happen to me?
The food's probably going to taste bad and you're not going to eat.
Yes. So Patty, I now lose weight, right? What
Yes.
happens 3 months later, everybody? 3 months later,
You
it
get
shows up.
sepsis.
Yeah. Well, I was
Yep.
thinking it shows up on the MDS, right? Weight loss.
Yep.
And do you think people realize it was because of salt 3 months later? Probably not. No offense. But this is the problem with institutional care and living. See, all I wanted was my salt. Now, what else might happen besides the weight loss and sepsis?
You're gonna get dehydrated.
Okay, dehydrated. Yes. Anything else, guys? How am I going to react to not getting my salt?
Angry
Yes.
Gonna
And if
be
I get
naughty.
too angry, yeah, that's right.
behaviors.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm using air quotes.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And then what might I get?
Put on the naughty list.
Yep,
Labeled.
yep, yep. And labeled, right? And probably some medication. Let's just take it that far, right? And why? All because I wanted what? You know,
Salt.
isn't that something? Now there's another route I could go down. If I already keep it in my purse, what am I pretty likely to do?
Hoard it.
That's right. Look at the language, guys. I'm going to steal it and I'm going to hoard it. Shame on us. That is not hoarding. That is not stealing. So I've got to invite my brothers and sisters in culture change to help me. I don't think we should use hoarding ever. It's a label and it's a person, right? And we should never use stealing or thief. It's my home and all I want is salt. And if you knew me, that's the point. Know the person. And I'd like y'all to think about this. What's your routine? What if it was you? If you moved in and you didn't get what you need, how would you do? How would you feel? And another thing I've learned is this, I became a mama already 18 years ago. I only have one beautiful child. And when she was young, I started to call her picky. And I realized, wait a minute, I'm just calling her picky because she doesn't like what I like. Is that fair? And I stopped calling her picky. And you know what? I don't think any of us are picky. I think we have preference. How about you? And see, picky tends to be negative. Even people say, I'm picky, right? So it's my new saying, people aren't picky, people have preferences. And feel free to share any thoughts you're having in the chat box. The next one is each person can and does make a difference. Isn't that beautiful? Each person who lives there and each person who works there. And one beautiful way to take advantage of that is learning circles. We're going to talk more about that in a future webinar, but sitting in a circle and posing a question and waiting on each person to actually answer it without interrupting is a beautiful way to learn about each other and to learn how to solve problems. And then the more we can ask people their opinion at all ages, including older age, is very honoring. In fact, guys, this is profound to me. I was in Illinois recently at a big event. I'm proud to tell you that Department of Health and State Ombudsman and all the nursing home associations were all in the same room. And even though there were tensions a little bit in the beginning, by the end of the day, Illinois had decided to work better together to change culture and make life terrific for people living in Illinois nursing homes. Is that not amazing? And they want to meet more often and just start to work more together, be less of enemies and more partners and work together. Isn't that amazing? And the reason I bring it up is we showed what a learning circle looks like. And the question was, what would you need to make living in a nursing home terrific? And I just sat in the learning circle. It was just like 5 people to show how it goes. And here's something I realized. I realized these principles. I realized, wow, if someone actually knew me well, they would say in the morning, first of all, they wouldn't wake me up. Second, they would say, hey, I have your coffee. They wouldn't have to ask if I wanted it. They might then ask, do you want to go outside now or after your shower? You see? And I almost teared up, you guys. What if someone knew you that well? They know exactly what you want in the morning. I challenge you to get there and to give it to people, or at least offer it, The next one is relationship is the fundamental building block of a transformed culture. I have learned from pioneers in this movement. Some will tell you it's all about relationship. Don't do anything but relationship first. Build relationship, get to know each other better, know the person. Each person is valuable, right? Build relationship. Now there's lots of ways you can do that. And one of my favorite ways is actually opening up the culture to say that we support staff dining with residents. And this photo is just one of many homes that did this like 20 years ago. This is an old photo now. I'm proud to tell you. They put together a continental breakfast and said, hey, staff members, you feel free to eat breakfast yourself and then sit down and dine with a resident. And Brittany, I'm looking at you. Life Care Casper does this, right? And it doesn't cost a lot of money, right? What would you say about it?
So I was going to say Life Care Center of Casper started doing this. It cost nothing. They were already feeding staff after the residents. And it moved very fluidly for them. They were able to. But I will also say that since the linking of Pioneer Network and Greenhouse, Convivium, which is part of their Convivium, is kind of the backbone of Greenhouse. And since the Veterans Home has just gone through all of their Greenhouse training, eating with the residents and being a part of their daily meal, everything is very, very important, and it's really neat to watch.
Oh, thank you, my dear. So the word convivium, everybody, is an old Roman word, is my understanding, that just means, dining together, eating together, fellowship, going slower, not watching the TV, not facing the TV, but looking at each other, that whole idea, right? So thank you, Brittany, for even reminding me, because it's the same thing right here, isn't it? Relationship, building relationship. And we do it often around food and around meals. So combining the two. By the way, any home I've ever known to, I hate to say feed employees. So, serve employees, offer meals to employees. They always say it really doesn't cost anything because it's actually just using up what would have been leftovers. So I just find that so powerful. Another way to look at this is just to start to role model it. Many of you could role model it. Just go sit down and have lunch with a table of people who live there. It's so much fun. Watch people's reaction. Watch, observe, listen. Like, what do they tell you? I've seen it go like this. Hey, if you're sitting with them today, you better sit with us tomorrow. And I believe they're hungry for relationship more than they're hungry for food, because they get food, everybody. They get food. They get 3 meals a day plus snacks. We all can account for it. They get food. What don't they get? Relationship, friendship. Let's even go further. Love. People are hungry for love. And this is the way to do it, to focus on relationship. Here's 2 other relationship stories. You've all probably heard of the idea of guardian angels. This home called them buddies, and 2 profound stories. So the ones on the bottom right have known each other for a long time because the older woman who lives in the nursing home was the Sunday school teacher of the younger staff member when he was in 1st grade. Oh, it says 1st grade teacher. I thought it was Sunday school. But what came up was she lost her ride to church, and he offered as her buddy and as her former student to help her get to church every Sunday. Isn't that profound? Profound. I would guess he didn't work Sundays, And then even more profound, the woman on the other picture had no more family, no more friends. So her staff buddy became her advocate, became like her daughter, and she went to the hospital with her. She spent time with her. She got the warm blankets and combed her hair and played music and held her hand. And really, it was like a mother-daughter relationship. And that beautiful staff member buddy was with her when she died. Oh my gosh, isn't that amazing? That is relationship. Here's something else I found in a study. It makes sense that quality of relationships within the home is more associated with life satisfaction than having visitors. Interactions with residents and staff occur on a daily basis. Yep. Relationships are the heart of person-centered care. Through a relationship, all things can happen, but without one, nothing. Wow, profound. And another neat study was about friendship in the workplace. So work friendships, as you probably all know, keep people longer. They estimate 30% additional salary is needed to move to a different nursing home when the person is happy in their present position. Workplace relationships impact the ability of someone to succeed. And another survey, being valued and having trusting relationships was linked to higher engagement, of course, right? Favorable attitude, intention to stay, and desire to advocate for this organization. So research is also pointing in this direction to what we all probably know anyway. So the next core value is respond to spirit as well as mind and body. And I just want to link here to the Eden Alternative. The 10 principles begin with identifying that what Dr. Bill Thomas called the 3 plagues of institutionalization are loneliness, helplessness, and boredom. And so notice how kind of goes together, you know. If we go after those 3 plagues, we're starting to dip into things that really matter to people. It's kind of like saying spirit, mind, and body. To just actually talk about, are you feeling lonely? Actually asking the hard questions, right? How you doing with boredom? How you doing with helplessness? And then all those other principles, if you've never studied them, really help guide a team, an organization, a community into changing institutional culture. And then if we know people well and we know some of the plant lover or a garden lover, you know, you are kind of responding to someone's spirit if it's something they're passionate about. I've heard people say, like, if you're a plant lover and you don't have a plant, it's like a certain kind of loneliness. Isn't that interesting? I love plants. I think I would feel that way. So anyway, you get it. I don't have to teach you what that means to respond to people, you know, deeper, as a person, not a task, you know, not just their body. That's kind of what we've done, guys, in institutional living. You know, we tend to put the medical care first and we kind of aren't great, I'm sorry, at the rest. Some people say, I don't even know how well we do with the mind, but I think we're trying. You know, even the idea that we're being told to do better with trauma-informed care is helping us in that way. So then the next one, oh boy, is pretty darn good. And it is risk taking is a normal part of life. So how many of you drove to work today? Did you take a risk driving to work? Driving is a risk, right? How about anybody wearing high heels anymore? High heels are a risk, right? Smoking is a risk. All of it is a risk, right? And this woman, you're going to laugh. This older woman, let me take her photo. She's 90 some years old. This was in New York many years ago. She is smoking in the smoking room with all her flammable materials about her. and I just realized it's kind of a picture of risk taking. So you probably can tell that our movement, you know, was really gutsy to start saying this out loud. People have the right to make poor choices. You and I have the right to make bad decisions. And I know it's hard to balance it all, but that's the key. We got to get closer to balancing it instead of forcing people to do something or forcing them not to do something. And the more we all talk about risk taking is normal, it's normal, it's normal. You get better at honoring it and balancing. You know, another good way to say this that might help you all move in that direction are the 2 words informed choice. So it's CMS lingo, informed choice. So who does the informing? We do. Who does the choice part? They do. But as long as you keep balancing it, you know, you've done your part. And then I've also heard it said to document the dialogue of discussion. You document. Yes, we keep talking to so-and-so about the bacon could kill him. But he says, I'd rather die eating the bacon. Like, that's kind of an easy one, right? When they can tell you. So we'll just start there, you know, and just going to the people, you know, how many of you ask the people who live there when they want their meds? Do you do that? Because Westward Heights did, and they were able to drop a lot of meds and get more efficient with meds, so much so they drop labor needs for passing meds. Can you believe that? Not many people get to say that. So moving on, all elders are entitled to self-determination wherever they live. Yes, they are. Here's a photo of a buffet. Help yourself if you're able. If you're not able, then tell the servers what you want. The next, I'm just going to keep rolling here. Community is the antidote to institutionalization. One of the culture change practices we recommend is something called the community meeting. It brings both staff and residents together, and you really start to act and talk and get to know one another and make decisions as a community, not just resident stuff over here, staff stuff over there. Also, speaking of community, you could also talk to people who live there about serving the community, you know, meaning and purpose. There's so many things that could be done in-house for people living and working there, as well as the community at large. And one home, they had like crafts on Tuesdays, and the people who live there said, "Why are we making these crafts? We don't need them." And so they decided we should do stuff for other people. And it's the Purposeful Project Club. Often what they do is for staff, but they might help make folders, or apparently they have candy bags at the front desk for children. They help a church with decorations, birthday cards. They're shucking corn, making care bags for volunteers, etc. Isn't that great? The next one is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I don't have to say much more about that. By the way, does anyone know who said that originally? I'd love to know if you know. And look at this photo. I just love this photo. When you think of someone loves dogs, someone is lonely because they don't have their dog, and to do unto others as you would have them do unto you means you would help them have their dog. Yes, yes, we would. And many have done it. All right, the next one is promote the growth and development of all. I love this. This is a photo of a lead CNA when it was kind of a new thing. If you don't have lead CNA, highly recommend it. It's the idea of helping people to grow and develop. But it doesn't just have to be a lead kind of position. You could help someone go to college, but it doesn't have to just be that. It could be anything you think of, right? In fact, in our movement, I started to hear this. I hadn't heard it before. What if we helped each other to grow rather than just write people up and fire them? What do you think of that, everybody? Wouldn't that be cool? Maybe we'd still have people working in long-term care that used to 10 plus years ago, right? And guess what? They call them growth plans instead of employee evaluations. And they also call them growth plans instead of care plans. Growth is one of the Eden Alternative 7 domains of well-being. Growth. So let's do a poll. We're going to do a fun poll, everybody. Get ready. I'm launching the poll. Would you prefer to have a care plan or a growth plan if you lived in the nursing home? And tell me why. Someone tell me why, please. Either talk or in the chat box.
If you're still growing, you still have goals and stuff, even no matter how old you are.
Woo! Go Kelly. Go Kelly. She just did this, everybody, at Morningstar. Woo! Go Kelly. All right, I'm going to end the poll, and look here, everybody. You probably won't be surprised. Isn't it fun? 100% say growth plans. Isn't that cool? All right, let's keep moving. I'm running out of time already. The next point is, hang on. I want to do it like this. Watch this. Look at the language. People move out of their home. Where do they sometimes go first? Independent. What? What's it called? Independent living. Then they need more assistance. And what's it called? Assisted what? Assisted living. And then they need what? Care. And now what's it called? Long-term care, acute care, post-acute care, skilled nursing facility. Does anyone want to live there? In fact, watch this. Where did the living go? See it right there, guys? The living, the word living disappeared. I personally think that is part of the problem. So my challenge to you is bring the word living back. Let's keep the living and assisted living. They do not need to be called assisted living facilities, by the way. And let's keep the home in nursing home. They don't need to be a facility. We're missing the mark. By the way, is it just a nursing home? Does only nursing take place in a nursing home? Nope. In fact, guess what, Wyoming? This happened on one of your Wyoming webinars. When we did the online conference, Barry Barkin was with us and he got to talking about this, and we realized, you know what it should be called? The nurturing home. Would you love it if nurturing in all aspects was going on in this home, which it probably is? Now, I know it sounds funny and goofy, new words, but to be honest, I wonder if that defines it better, because not only nursing goes on there. Isn't that cool? By the way, changing culture matches the regulations. Trust me, there is not one reg that stands in our way. Do you think we'd have a movement if it did? And the regs just keep getting better and better to support changing culture. And then I want to show you something else as far as language goes. CMS, made the lingo of person-centered care popular in 2016. And here's what they said: person-centered care is to focus on the resident as the locus of control and support the resident in making their own choices and having control over their daily lives. Personally, I don't think that defines care. Who sees something else? It's more than care. What does that really define? I think it defines living and life, because living and life is more than just care. And so please be careful. Person-centered care is not the same as culture change, and the lingo is actually outdated. Notice how person-centered is good. It's better than not person-centered, but what's better? Person-directed. And yes, even if I have dementia, please give me choice. Please give people choice. People can handle choices, even living with dementia. Plus, you get to know them, and if I spit out my green beans, what did I just tell you, right? So then we have a next problem. If we keep talking about care, person-centered care, resident-directed care, self-directed care, what's missing? I've already said it: life and living. So this is where we as a movement moved on to talk about self-directed life or living, or resident-directed life or living, or even better, person-directed life and living. What if we did talk more about life and less about care? I don't know. I find that interesting. We all could try it. I think good care should be a given. How about you? And good care is part of life. And we get so focused on care. So here we go. Watch this, everyone. This is an example of basically every principle we're talking about. You are gonna just love it.
Back at 6:50, and he's been adopted. We're talking about Bootsy, the shelter dog chosen to participate in a never-before-done senior canine adoption program, and now Bootsy has a forever home.
Yeah, Tabitha's been following the story since they began this program and through to now, and I know it's been a really cool story to follow, Tab.
It has been such a fun story to follow, and it's such a happy time, but it's kind of a bittersweet moment also, because Bootsy is leaving behind his foster friends, and they are terribly sad to see him leave, but they're tremendously happy to see him go to a warm and loving home. And this isn't it. They're looking forward to their next foster dog.
Get your tissues.
How much is that dog in the window?
This might have been the moment.
I hope that dog is for sale.
The moment Melissa Roberts fell in love with Bootsy.
I wanted to adopt him. I wanted to make sure that he had a loving home. I knew with my girls and I that he would have a loving home.
You may remember Bootsy, a malnourished 10-year-old spaniel without a place to call home.
There's not too many people that are looking to adopt 10-year-old animals.
That was until Bootsy was selected for the Senior Canine Adoption Program. An unprecedented program, the first in the nation, pairing senior canines with elder members of our community.
Just because you're getting older doesn't mean you can't have meaning and purpose to your life. And just because you live in a long-term care community doesn't mean you can't have purpose in your life.
Residents at the Rehabilitation Center of Bakersfield cared for Bootsy in every way. Staff stood back as Bootsy was nursed back to health.
I'm so proud of these residents. When we got Bootsy, he was like 11.5 pounds. within like 2 or 3 weeks, he was like at 16.5 pounds.
Bootsy gave these residents a reason to get up and get to work every morning.
Thank you for calling the senior canine adoption. Would you like to adopt Bootsy?
After roughly 2 months, the right call came.
What day and time would you like to come in? She just seems so sincere and so excited.
The residents met with the Roberts family, eventually voting on whether or not to let Bootsy go.
Oh, that was hard. But I knew when she walked in, and started petting and the way she was petting, and I knew she was the one.
I'm just glad that they chose us as to bring him to our family, to give him lots of love.
Deserving love to an old stray who transformed this nursing home.
Let's go. Come on. It gave me a lot of purpose. A lot of purpose.
Well, it's wonderful because we just live here with, we exist from day to day, and this gives us something to do, to be proud of.
Although Bootsy is leaving, this is not the end of the senior canine adoption program.
There has to be a beginning, and this is a beginning, and that we can go on, and someday when all of us are gone, that we'll be remembered for our love for our doggies.
Every time, Tab. Every time. It gets me.
Such a precious story. And the residents at the Rehabilitation Center of Bakersfield are already looking into another senior shelter dog to foster and help find that dog a home. And the program was such a success that they're actually branching this out to other Rockport Health nursing homes throughout the state of California. So it's starting up in Pasadena
so cool.
in about a week. Yeah, it's really
amazing.
neat. And I'm looking forward to continually following these dogs
Yeah,
that they
each
get
one.
and
Why
how they're
not?
helping.
Why
The
not?
thing that touched me too is she said we exist. A lot of these folks are in these homes, and they need this type of support.
They do.
It's it's a great program.
Yeah,
I wanted Bootsy myself. If I didn't have 3 dogs of my own, I would have been like, oh, I want that dog.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Great
Bootsy's got a
story.
good home now, though.
I'd love to hear your reaction.
Back at
everyone.
6:50.
Oops, here we go. All right. Did you know that baby boomers are saying, I'm not going to a nursing home, and they're creating all sorts of different models. They're living together, they're sharing houses, co-housing, cooperatives, affinity groups. So that would mean like all the golfers are living with other golfers. And apparently there's an artist colony. And my point now is, guess what, everyone? There's no bingo at the artist colony. And people told the author of this book that they desire real, not make-believe, not sterile, and not artificial. And so on the notion of meaning and purpose and real life and normal life and, helping Bootsy come back to life and being in charge and taking the calls and getting to decide who gets to adopt him, now we're talking, right? And so I just want to put an idea in all of your heads. We can't really take bingo away from people, right? But if bingo is the most popular thing in a nursing home, I don't think that's a compliment to any of us. No offense. I was an activity director, so was Brittany. It's not meant to be offensive to anyone, but if we just think about, there's something not right if bingo is the most popular thing. And so if people want meaning and purpose, the best I can figure is, what if we think of it as competing with bingo? If you had a canine adoption project going on, if you had volunteerism going on, if you made community service project, the purpose, what was it? The Purposeful Projects Club, if you had more and more and more. That's my dream, to be honest. What if someone says, oh, I don't have time for bingo? Now we've arrived, right? So I'd encourage you to get some going, get some fundraiser, this or that, crocheting, making blankets, all the things, filling the backpacks. I challenge you to have so many, you kind of don't know how many are going on. Letters to the soldiers, care packages, love it on staff, like you heard. Research shows people want to engage in meaningful things that make a difference. So it kind of fits the idea of growth and development and relationship, all of this. Another core value is to shape and use the potential of the environment, physical, organizational, psychosocial, and spiritual. So shape and use the potential. Here's an example of the environmental side. Look at this photo. This nursing home, the creative maintenance team put 2 sinks instead of 1. Isn't that amazing? In an old nursing home. We all live in houses that have 2 sinks probably, right? In the master bath. And we choose to live with these people, right? They are strangers. If anyone has 2 sinks, who should it be, right? Plus you see a mirror, everybody has their own thing. And the mirrors, by the way, are, help me, tiltable. Is that the word? I think so. Yes. So you can help it to move so a person can see themselves even if they're in a wheelchair. And then, of course, organizational potential. The thing about our movement is to flatten the organization. Don't be so hierarchical, flatten and get input from everyone. Everyone's equal, including the people who live there, right? And we're talking a lot about psychosocial spiritual today. Here's another creative maintenance team. They actually rewired the call light system and put in porch lights in an old building. Those are cinder blocks behind the drywall. And if they can do it, boy, howdy, anybody can do it. And so you have a porch light instead of a typical medical hospital over the door call light. They also went so far as to add doorbells. Isn't that amazing? You would ring a doorbell at my house and I would ring one at your house. They found out that doorbells aren't that pricey and you just use a battery from Ace Hardware kind of place, get it? And they also, a maintenance man and his son built the mailboxes and every room has a mailbox. And all I can say is rampant normalcy. Another one is practice self-examination, searching for new creativity, new opportunities for doing better. And I have a story here. Life Care of Greeley, Colorado, many years ago, wanted to do a Sunday brunch, and they did. And did they have problems? Yes. Like somehow they forgot to take the buffet to the neighborhood that serves people with dementia. But my point here is, oh, well, they made a mistake. They didn't stop doing it. And it became so popular that every Sunday became a brunch. So one thing we've learned is experiment and don't expect perfection and see where it leads you. People might love how that went or not, and that's okay too. And then last but not least, I think this sums it all up. How about you? Put the person before the task. If you have that before your team every day, have it on the wall, have it everywhere, move in that direction, you will change culture. Another famous quote from our movement, no longer are the needs of the institution to come before the needs of the individual. Amen. And I want to show you some regs, everyone. Under self-determination 561, did you know it says residents have the right to choose healthcare schedules? Look at that, choose schedules consistent with their interests and preferences. And information should be gathered to what? Proactively assist residents with the fulfillment of their choices. And nursing homes must not develop a schedule for care, such as waking or bathing schedules for staff convenience and without the input of the people who live there. Wow, did you know that? That'd be amazing if we all took that to heart, even if surveyors started asking about it. Now, forgive me, that was the guidance part. Here is the reg part. Residents have the right to choose schedules. That's what I want to highlight. Did you know? And then residents also have the right to make choices about aspects of their life that are significant to them. Sleep isn't significant to me. How about you? Eating when I want to eat is significant to me. How about you? And then here's some more. Oh, this is actually the same thing. So guidance, comes after the reg language. And then look what's also at F600, abuse. This is a list under this tag, identified nursing home characteristics that could increase the risk for abuse include, and one of the many bullets is this, home policies that operate in the interest of the institution rather than the people who live there. Wow. And I guess this is the last one. If I said the other one was last, I'm sorry. Recognize that culture change and transformation are not destinations, but a journey, always a work in progress. So I'd be curious, what principle excites you the most? Think about transformation, guys. The word transformation, isn't it beautiful? If you think of the caterpillar to the cocoon to the butterfly, that's where we can be. And if some of you, all of you really, could put in the chat box your knowledge of any of this before we began and your knowledge now after, I really need that for the grant. Or text me if you got my number, or email me. And I gotta remind you what's happening in Wyoming. We have 2 big goals that everyone who works in a Wyoming nursing home learns about culture change. So please pass these links on. I'll be sending out the recording link soon. Invite people to August 11th coming up in Lander, Wyoming. Sorry, there's a fly. The other big goal is every person who lives in a Wyoming nursing home does not get woken up on an institutional schedule. Wyoming, if you were the first state to do that, that'd be amazing. If you're not coming to August 11th, please reconsider and come. We still have room. Contact me if you have questions. We're working on language and leadership, and we're still honoring sleep and caring for and engaging families as partners. And you can just scan that QR code. If you haven't watched the 5 videos, please do. And I almost recommend taking it home, share with your family, share with your loved ones. We need people of all ages and all walks of life to start learning how living in a nursing home can be terrific. You'll see Star Valley's journey. They were in year 1 and they kept going. Life Care of Casper, thank you, Brittany, for starting it, and their team did marvelous, marvelous things. Westward Heights, they just ended up with so many outcomes. You've got to watch them. Mission at Castle Rock and Morning Star are both Eden registered homes for 7 to 8 years. They have a changed culture. Of course they do. And these are on YouTube. And the more that the people watch them and pass them on, we can help the world learn how we could all change culture. Darn, I didn't get the right, I didn't get the right one listed there, guys. I meant to. So next webinar is August 25, building relationships and staff retention, how they go together. And last but not least, if you want to join us in moving towards normal language, notice I couldn't say the F word. Sometimes we call it that just for fun. And so instead of facility, you could start to just say, refer to home, refer to community, call it the name of the place, Life Care of Casper, St. John's, right? Morning Star, Thermopolis. And we did a poll a few months ago, and guess what? 100% prefer home over facility. Isn't that great? And then another word, if you want to join us, we don't have to refer to patients, even residents. Look at this. An administrator in Colorado says he was a person way before he was a resident of a nursing home. So you could start to use your own different language, refer to people in person, individual, community member, and the word neighbor is sometimes chosen because they really are neighbors to one another. And my favorite part about that is you would start to talk about the new neighbor moving in rather than the new admit. How do you like that? Oh, and by the way, 100% prefer to be called person over resident or patient. And then we have the goofy thing about toileting. Hey, Brittany, do you toilet yourself? Would I ever ask anybody this question? Oh, Patrick, I'm not going to ask you. Seth, I'm not going to ask you. And referring, can Brittany toilet herself? It is so weird, everyone. And the toileting schedule, I have to go toilet someone. Oh my gosh, you guys, it is bad language run amok. It is dishonoring, it's disrespectful. So oftentimes you can just avoid it, or certainly use normal language like you and I do in our house, referring to the bathroom, the restroom, the powder room. Go freshen up. How about not saying anything? I'll be right back, right? That's another way to do it. And then our word of the month this time, I have a poll for you guys. Let's do the poll. Here we go. Second poll. Second poll. Oh dear, where'd it go? Here we go. Hang on. Why? got it. I got it. Launch. Here we go. Would you rather, like, think of you live in the nursing home. Do you want people to say she refuses? Do you want to say she declines? Do you want to say she chooses this or that? Or do you want to say she prefers? This time we have 4 options. You only get to pick one. And I know we're almost at time, guys. We're almost done. Thank you. Thank you. I'm gonna end the poll, ending the poll. Here we go. And sharing the results. And prefer is in the lead. Choosing and choice is second. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but I have had someone point out that the word prefer just says it all. And it's not yes or no, it's not right or wrong. And I don't know, I just started to lean that way myself. I was a big decline person, like decline is better than refuse. But if we really start to think about the power that words have, what is it really? You know, there we have the opportunity to say more of what we mean. So another neat thing here is hang on, why needs to be the next question, which would support the person. Why did they decline? Why did they refuse? Why are they choosing? And see, what does it lead to? Your preferences. Isn't that interesting? Because what do they prefer? And then we have another neat quote coming out of your state from Cherie Walsh, ADON at Life Care Casper. She started to say this, my gosh, I've never heard anyone say it. She reminds her team, preferences are not schedules. So even though I prefer something, don't you dare turn it into an institutional schedule. Isn't that profound? That's like advanced culture change. Way to go, Cherie. Do any of you have any questions, comments, or ideas to push the proverbial envelope? Anybody? We have a moment. We actually have a moment. Who wants to share something? Anything? Karaoke is one of our more popular events. Awesome. Normal. Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to share, like I'm brand new over here and we did a council meeting and I just wanted to ask them like what they wanted to be referred to. And like they are just happy and like they've been referred to as their names and people. And it's kind of a nice that there's not much on that end that needs to be changed. Like they don't want it to be called like a community or something like that. They could call it their home in the name of the center. And that's been kind of like really nice.
Oh yeah, wonderful. Wonderful.
Happy residents. I'm having to retrain myself from the word elders.
Yeah. Because even when you were in an organization, Kelly, that used elder, did you ever run into people who might say, I don't want to be called an elder?
Yeah, they would tell us and when they didn't want to and what they would rather be referred to as. And the general consensus here in this building is they do not want to be called elders. And they said that they want to be remaining residents.
Yeah. Well, but Kelly, how about in the place you used to work at where elder is used? Did anyone ever tell you?
Yes, they would tell us that they don't want to be called elders and what they would prefer to be called is their name. So that was nice that they had the right to do that.
That's right. Okay, thank you. It's you guys, it's our ageist culture. Even older people don't want to be called old, right? Don't want to be called elder. It's too bad, but here we are. And people get to be called what they want to be called, right? And you can just never go wrong when you use people's names. We're learning that, aren't we? So I'm not saying do what I do, but this is why I use the more words and I talk about the people who live there or the people who work there, because like nobody gets offended, But anyway, that's it for today. Thank you so much. Join me next time. Come to Lander if you're not signed up. Come join us. Thank you so much. Happy Friday. Way to go,
See you all
Wyoming.
in Lander.
Yeah, see you in Lander.
Yeah, see you in a couple of weeks.
Yes. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks
Thanks,
so much.
Carmen.
Thank you. Bye-bye.